board meeting to order. Tonight we're here to address our work together about our disrupting the school to prison pipeline. Before we get started on our discussion, we need to do roll call. Elizabeth Martinez.
Here.
Steve Kane.
Here.
Lisa Marks. Carla Torres de Luna.
Here.
And I'm here, so we're all present. And let's do the flag salute. Mr. Kane.
Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I need approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 5-0. All right, our first agenda item is 5A, which is working to disrupt the prison pipeline. And are you going to lead us off there, Superintendent Ochoa?
Yes, I am. Thank you for passing it over to me.
Before we get started, we have a lot of guests tonight.
Yes.
And I want to thank everyone who's attending and giving up your evening and giving up the time that you have made to make this presentation and our new policies come into effect. Thank you very much.
People online.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm very pleased to have our teacher representatives here. I am super, super excited to have two of our school social workers.
Yay!
Two of many. I'm super grateful to have our district cabinet here. Thank you all for being with us. We have the president of the local chapter of the League of United Latin American Citizens, our LULAC. Richard, thank you for being with us. We have Rigo Jimenez from Youth Alliance. We have the executive director of Youth Alliance, Diane Ortiz. Thank you for being with us. We have a consultant who works with our district on the school to prison pipeline work, Moira Denike. Thank you, Moira, for being with us. And we have our esteemed and wonderful county superintendent, Crystal Amanto. Crystal, thank you for being with us. Yay! Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain to the members here tonight and to the board that the first 12 to 15 minutes of this meeting is going to be an opportunity for the two work groups, the policy work group and the response work group, to basically give a summary of what has already taken place. It's going to be a nice way to start the meeting off so we all start with the same understanding, and it's going to lead us into a conversation about what our next steps are going to be as a school district in order to conduct this work. So my portion of the presentation is very brief, and it's to say that we have a very diverse team of people working on this project. We have school teachers, we have parents, we have principals, we have assistant superintendents, we have directors. And then what I think kind of sets us in another direction is we have the true partnership of the local county superintendent as well as our Youth Alliance partners who have really been hand in hand with us throughout this whole process.
I'm sorry.
So,
I'm sorry to interrupt. I have a procedural question.
of course.
I thought tonight was a continuation of a couple weeks ago, and we
It
didn't
is.
get to finish that agenda, and my bad, I failed to look at the agenda for this meeting based on the assumption we were continuing the other one. So there were items on that one that we didn't get to that are also not on this one.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's,
Well, we felt this was really important that we needed to get to this.
yes, we
And-
totally agree on that. I'm just,
Yeah.
is that typical for a school board to skip over? So I thought once the agenda was approved, that had to be followed.
Well, we had an agenda for our last meeting,
Uh-huh.
and the agenda was approved and the meeting was held. And as we moved into this meeting, the school board president and I developed this agenda, basically addressing the items that we understood or believed needed to be discussed. So I think maybe we just need to have a conversation about what items you felt didn't get discussed, so we can talk about that, and perhaps schedule another meeting.
Well, it was funding, we didn't finish off discussing the funding. There was facilities and there was one other item,
Okay.
that we were gonna talk about, and,
Yeah,
you know.
we do
Yeah,
have,
and-
yeah,
And then I believe at the end of that meeting, the board agreed that it was gonna be a continuation, so
yeah,
I just wanna make sure that we're, you know, that,
sure.
and there's a lot I don't know, so this might be copacetic, I just wanted to, before we got
Sure.
ourselves into too much trouble.
Sure,
No,
well,
no, no.
there's no trouble, so the meeting that's held tonight, the agenda that was published tonight is the agenda that we're going to work off of. And I hear what you're saying, and, I think the board has a couple of options. One option is to agendize the same items that pertain to facility funding, COVID funding, and then district general funds, for our upcoming regular board of trustees meeting, which is a week from tonight.
Okay.
The other option is to hold a separate special meeting. I might not wanna go that route. I think you might not get as much attendance or participation. So it's really the board's discretion, and Jan and myself, as president and superintendent, we can definitely build that into the board agenda. It is a week away, so I think it will give us time to prepare for it, and give members of the public who are watching tonight and who are here with us tonight an opportunity to prepare questions or remarks, if we were to hold it at our April 27th regular board meeting. So I'll turn it over to the board. Are you in favor of doing that? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that, finishing, I thought we had finished, but if there's a couple items, if they get.
Yeah, there is a
fair-
couple of items, but we need to get this
Right,
item
Absolutely. But I
taken
think,
care of.
yeah, and if we can finish then
Right.
the rest, since our meeting is next Tuesday, and then just make sure that everybody is aware, right, that that's what,
Yeah, we
Really?
weren't gonna skip.
Yeah,
Well,
You-
it's gonna be a different format. Tonight will be different from the last time, and then next Tuesday obviously will be a different format, right?
There'll be a general.
Let Superintendent Ochoa and I meet on that, and we
Well,
will,
how about for tonight, because we've all worked a full day, we're tired, we know, the Superintendent Cho is too. We could watch this from the comfort of our own couch, and discuss if it's not gonna be the same format as it was last time.
no, this is, because we have other people
Mhm.
involved.
Right.
So it's a little bit different, but we would like you to hear about this new
Well,
policy.
we'll hear, we just don't necessarily need to be here, to hear.
Okay,
All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
sure. Thank you. So the plan for tonight is to essentially have an open conversation about the district's work to disrupt the school to prison pipeline. I want to thank you all for being here. Obviously, there's a commitment issue, there's a question pertaining to how do we make that investment in getting this work put forward and continuing the work and completing the work. And so that's what tonight is about. Tonight is about us having an open conversation to determine how to best move forward with our next steps, is to evaluate and discuss the work that's already taken place and to make some investments on next steps. So that's what we're gonna do tonight. I'm super excited for that work to start. Crystal and Diane and myself and Moira have worked collaboratively on the next steps that we see regarding policy, and I want to turn it over to our Executive Director of Youth Alliance, Diane Ortiz. Diane, I'm going to present the document that you shared with me earlier, so just so you know, the members at home are going to see the document nice and big. Everyone here in attendance is going to see the document nice and big. And when Diane is finished with her remarks, she's going to pass it over to Crystal, who's going to make some remarks to the board as well. So with that, Diane, take it away.
this. And so that's why we're here tonight. We are working to change this. Next slide. So as we work to what this means to dismantle that pipeline that Moira created, this really cool thing, and it had some really cool graphics, but I couldn't make them work. But what we saw that is as we want to uproot this, we want to dismantle this, we have to re-envision what this looks like because of just the power and the responsibility that we have. We have such an opportunity now, especially because of the pandemic, especially because of the inequities and the racial equity issues, the racial justice reckoning, all of it that we've seen, not only the data, not only the students that we hear from and our families and our educators, but we know we can do better. We know we have a responsibility and the power to disrupt that and to re-envision what this looks like to build a better system. And our goal is to be able to do that in partnership with the school district because we want to make sure that those voices of those students and families that have been most harmed by this structural system of inequity, that we're able to embrace them in part of the solutions and the reimagining of something that's a brand new thing for all of us. Next slide. So as we're, our theory of change obviously is, you know, looking at not just removing law enforcement. We know that's just part of the issue here, but it's part of an action that we've addressed. And our goal is to build alternative responses in order to be able to increase the systemic support networks that we have for our education teams, for our students, for our families, and also partner to create an anti-racism restorative culture throughout all of the schools. And ultimately, our goal is to advance more positive conditions for learning. Next slide. So the goal really is, you know, building something better. And I apologize that the R is missing. But we know that together building a student-centered learning environment, disrupting and addressing structural issues like underinvestment, like racism, like implicit bias, like partnering and rebuilding relationships with families and parents as part of the solution together with our education partners. It's critically important to build something that is going to be something that we're proud of and something that's going to create a systemic network of supports. So when the school district created the resolution to dismantle the school to prison pipeline and take a look at the school discipline policies, we knew that there were going to be, like the theory of change says, specific things that we needed to get done in order to reimagine this. And so one of the things, if you want to take a look at the next slide, some of the things that have been done in meeting together with community at the table. And I just want to say how impressed I am with the leadership and vision of our school administrators and the school board and our community for really coming together to address this issue. Because I think one of the things that I think is important for all of you to know is that this issue of criminalization of our students, of racial justice reckoning, of investing in the right things like our children's future and education is starting to gain traction in lots of different areas, meaning that there's an assembly bill out there right now. We've had conversations with the California School Boards Association. They want to hear about the good work, the transformative work that's being entered into with the school district, with Hollister School District. They're excited to hear more about the visionary stance about what this transformation can look like as we recreate welcoming school environments in partnership with community and school. What folks are really interested about in learning is what is it going to take to reimagine how we transform the system and how we can move forward. And it is a visionary thing that I think the school district, I hope you understand, and this part of my passion of it today is to tell you that this work of what you're doing with the Hollister School District is at the forefront of transformative work in education throughout the state of California based upon my network and the coalition of partners that we work with. When we work in the racial justice lens, we work in the juvenile justice lens. Not only did the Santa Clara County Juvenile Justice Commission file a report about their recommendations for lessening criminalizational practices and policies for school districts, they also heard about the transformative work that's being entered and launched in the Hollister School District. So I just want to say that this is part of the work that's been done. This list here so far with the Hollister School District Task Force, co-convening with the schools and with Youth Alliance and partners like the County Office of Education, like LULAC, coming together to reimagine this. We're being able to redefine safety around relationships, centering relationships and equity rather than suppression and control, changing policies from the top down. We know it starts by centering policies, and we've had an attorney being able to be present to take a look at things. We're looking at model policies. That's why I brought up the California School Boards Association, because those conversations have expanded to that network. Training for school personnel. We know that we want to create a whole school climate, and it goes beyond just our teachers. We've got to look at what does it look like for our school site staff? How do you have the parents, advocates, and liaisons that the positions you're creating, social workers, all of that as a team? How do we create a restorative justice and community building school that's centered and it's trauma informed? It's got mental health first aid, it's anti-racist. And then moving forward to just creating systems and support teams. How do we respond now, right? When we know that we have to re-envision and reimagine how this process is going to work. So we have to come together and build systems together, because especially in San Benito County, that convergence of the lack of resources that have come to education was met fiercely with the reality that we're in a service desert as a county. And we had other social networks and other social systems that were not present, like behavioral health and other things that we've had to really bring to the table and build out these systems of responding in a more compassionate, restorative, responsible way, encouraging communication and responsibilities from students and teachers alike. The next is really robust family and student leadership and engagement. How do we partner with our families in a better way, in a more inclusive way? And then accountability through data. How are we going to know if we're making a difference? How are we going to see those school district suspension rates fall? How can we make sure that we're not disproportionately impacting or harming one group of students over another unintentionally with our systems, with our policies, practices, and the services and supports we get? So the opportunity is great. The privilege is mine and the Youth Alliance for participating in this. And we are excited about what we can craft together. And I know having the leadership and support with Crystal Lamonto, the superintendent of schools, has been exceptionally strong and really also a really proactive leader for the well-being of all of our community and county. And so I just want to thank you again for the opportunity and remind you also that Youth Alliance, our voices are here because of the parents and students that we work with on a daily basis. It was because of their organizing and their passion for their students and their education system that we're here today, because they continue to meet and bring up these issues over and over again, and was met with responsive education staff and teachers unions and the school board to be able to move forward. So I just want to say thank you again, and I'll pass it over to Crystal.
Well, thank you, Diane. I'm not going to really add much. I think you hit on every point with your passion and your soul. Interesting enough, in my former position when I was at San Benito High School, and I really pushed for support for teenagers. And Youth Alliance was the first organization, and LULAC, that stepped up to be able to support our teenagers, because often there's many programs for youth that are in elementary levels. So Diane and I have a long history of our passion and working together, and to see the partnership with Hollister School District and moving in that direction, it's incredible to see the work that has been encompassed over these last few months. And just to let the board know is that it's been fast and furious. It's an important work, it's urgent work. And I think it's important to mention that as the passion, how important it's been. And with the pandemic, it's brought so many other issues for our staff, for our students, and for our community. So like Diane mentioned, today's verdict just makes the work that much more important, and the reason why we are all here working together. So I'm not going to add more to that, in the fact that I want to thank Superintendent Ochoa for asking me and engaging the county office. Jennifer Logue has been a part of this as well, our deputy superintendent, and thanking the board to have the vision and the foresight and the grit to say that we need to move forward, and supporting your superintendent in that process. And that knowing that the San Mateo County Office of Ed is partners from this point forward as we continue to dig in and do the work that needs to be continued as we all work as partners. This is not going to be easy work, but it's important work, and we will make a difference. The other thing I will say is that I've brought up this work on my calls. I'm on weekly calls with the 58 county superintendents and the state. And often we can share out, and I've been sharing out the work that Hollister School District has been engaging in with the task force, with the leadership of Youth Alliance. And Diane, you are correct. Nobody else is engaging as quickly and so systematic as we have been doing with the leadership of Superintendent Ochoa and the Hollister School District Board. So I'm deeply grateful for the work and look forward to taking the work that you are all engaging with, that we are all engaging with, and excited as we engage with the Hollister School District staff, more of the community and the students, so that we can model for the state what really needs to be done for kids. And that is making a difference so that every child has equitable access. So it is my privilege and honor to be here tonight and to be working with all of you. So thank you.
And I don't think it takes the members of the audience or the families watching from home to figure out I'm a very lucky person to be able to meet on a weekly basis with Crystal and Diane, and we do have our consultant Moira with us on the call tonight, and she'll definitely participate in the meeting as we move forward. But we've had a separate group working this entire time as well. The work that our policy group has done has been rigorous, has been very, very difficult, but rewarding work. And our Director of Student Services, Kit Ward, who I see out of the corner of my eye, he's sitting back there, has really been an amazing leader alongside his Youth Alliance partners, Rico Jimenez and Jeanette Neal. And he's gonna join us for a couple of minutes to talk about some of the work that his work group has been doing. He's gonna introduce a couple of our school social workers. I'm gonna ask him to turn the mic on so that the mic can pick up what he's gonna be saying. And his group is gonna talk for a couple of minutes, and then we're gonna transition to the open portion of this meeting. So with that, Kip, I'll hand it over to you, and I'm gonna present your presentation.
Thank you, good evening, everyone. I am born and raised in Hollister and always proud of that fact. But tonight, I'm even more proud to be a part of this process, and I wanted to thank the board for putting this in motion. The fact that we're focusing on student safety and social emotional learning and caring for students makes me happy as a former teacher, and assistant principal, and principal. It's been a passion of mine, and so just thank you. I'm excited to be here. Task Force, our School Safety Task Force, our work group being focused on crisis and highest need response. And as part of that group, we looked at what do we need to do as a school community when there are crisis, when there are social, emotional, and mental health crisis happening on our campus. And with that, we have, I just take a quick minute to introduce some of the team members here. We have Eliana Delgadillo, who's one of our school social workers, so welcome to her and just thank her for being here and being a part of the team. She's been so crucial in this process, as has Adriana Gallegos. She's another one of our school social workers, and they're both here and present tonight, and so I'm proud to work with them. But mostly I just get out of their way and let them do their thing and give them the support that they need so I don't mess things up. And then we have Rico Jimenez, he's on the call. Rigo, if you could give a little wave to everybody, thank you for all of your hard work. He's gonna be sharing a few things with you in a few moments. And then Richard Perez, thank you, Richard, he's part of Work Group B, and he's been a really key piece of this process. And when we talk about our partners, we have, Hollister School District, we have Youth Alliance, parents, teachers, district staff, Crystal Amano and the San Benito County Office of Education, and multiple community members that have been a part of this process.
And I do, Kip, I wanna add just how important it is to have LULAC support our district in this process, because LULAC is a trusted and long-time agency in this community that steps up for Latinos in this community and stands together when there's important work to be done. They're there to represent this community, and they've been a key partners, and Richard's regular involvement and attendance at all of these meetings and his feedback has been really great.
Yeah, he's been a key piece of a Work Group B, so we appreciate him. And then on the next slide, I just wanted to briefly walk you through our, there's a lot of abbreviations on that top line. I will define this for you, I promise.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was like, what is that?
I didn't want to get in trouble, so I'm gonna fill in the blanks for you. So our social, we call it our SE team, our social emotional team, which is of course our two wonderful school social workers, as well as the mental health therapists that we've hired and the counselors. So we're building a team, and I couldn't be prouder of that fact that that's the direction that the Hollister School District is going. When we look at building that team, part of that process, and Diane mentioned it earlier, is professional development. So for PD, we look at how we have mental health first aid training, which Eliana, as one of our employees, is actually running that training. We've already filled up 2 dates. We're registering for a 3rd date, so we're excited about that. I've taken that training from Eliana about 4 years ago when I was a principal. Excellent training. And then we have trauma-informed practice training that is happening. We've filled that up with over 100 employees already, and I spoke with the team today. We're gonna be setting up another date. So we're just gonna keep moving through this before we get to August so that everyone's trained. And then we have Capturing Kids' Hearts, that's what the CKH is. They're gonna be coming back in August to train us again, to do a refresher. And then, of course, PBIS training. So those are some of the professional developments that we're looking at, that are going on now as we speak, to support our social emotional process in the Hollister School District. And now I'm gonna, yes, sir.
And I just wanna make it clear, the employees you're referring to are classified employees, certificated employees, management employees.
Yep.
It's not one group or another, or only one group, and it's every single employee.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. It's open to all, and it's been a great response, and we're just gonna continue doing that and opening those registrations and getting people trained, and we're proud of that fact.
Because as we know, Kip, the child interacts with everyone.
Everybody else.
They interact with the nurse, with the health clerk, with the secretary, with the yard duty,
Lunch.
every employee,
And
the gardener.
the fact that we're taking those barriers away,
Yeah.
because without really thinking about it, we do put up barriers for some of our folks, for PD. And to see us taking all those barriers away and offering it to everyone, regardless of who they are, what they do, is so important.
That's
so
equity
powerful.
for our staff to have access.
Right. And that's
The other thing is, we're also, because so many of our employees are parents, we're also, in effect,
Right.
starting the training for parents.
Yep.
Because they're gonna take that knowledge home with them as a mom or as a dad. And that might be the next step a year from now, to start giving some of these trainings to our parents.
Yeah, and on a personal note, I mentioned how I had taken the mental health first aid from Eliana in the past, and you get a manual when you take that class. And I was sharing with her the other day, I was having some trouble with one of my children at home, I won't mention a name. I was digging around in my room trying to find the manual so I could refer to that, because I needed a little support in that moment with my own kiddo. So it's for everyone, and it's a great process that we're undertaking. I'm proud to be here, and I'm proud to be part of HST. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Eliana, and she's gonna share a little bit of information with us. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us here. So, response to mental health needs, of course, the goal of the social emotional team is to work and have Hollister School District be able to respond to any individual that is exhibiting any signs and symptoms of mental health needs or undergoing a mental health crisis. That's our main goal. We want to start with prevention, and the purpose is to ensure that there's early detection of mental health symptoms at the school site, not only for students, but for parents and for staff, because we're all human and we're all at risk of mental health issues. So we want to adjust the school climate to bring more awareness. And of course, I just want to talk about mental health first aid. I was blown away. We sent the flyer out at 4 o'clock last Thursday. I came in and had over 30 emails. I've received over 80 registration forms. So Hollister School District staff is really, eager to take this training, and we've had to open up additional trainings just to have the opportunity to get everybody trained by the end of the year. So that was great to see. We also have other trainings, as Kip mentioned. We have the trauma-informed care that was also offered. I've seen a lot of good response to that. Youth development trainings, positive behavior, PBIS, and then restorative justice, and then capturing kids' hearts. So that's all part of the prevention piece that we're doing as a social emotional team.
Good evening. I'll be covering the early intervention component as part of this process. And early intervention entails providing social, emotional, and mental health services to students and their families in a way that is developmentally and culturally appropriate or responsive. It's also offering mental health wellness services to school staff. These services can be offered in the school, the home, or at community-based agencies. It just depends what is more appropriate to meet the needs of the population that's being served. Part of the supportive staff includes school counselors, school social workers, mental health therapists, also behavioral health case managers, and community-based partners such as Youth Alliance. Some examples of early intervention activities include conducting therapeutic and social skills groups. It's participating in SARB monitoring and or mediation. It's developing behavioral plans and providing input for 504 plans. And lastly, I just want to say how excited I am to be part of this team that is able to provide those services and to be part of a school district that is setting the example to follow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. And now I wanted to have Rigo Jimenez share some thoughts with us. Rigo, can you hear us?
I can. Can you all hear me?
Here we go.
All right. Well, just want to start off by saying good evening to the board, superintendent, community members. Happy to be sharing this virtual space, or for you guys in-person space today. So Rigo Jimenez, Associate Director with Youth Alliance. So I want to begin by expressing my appreciation for being able to be part of the task force and for all the love and commitment from everyone that's been involved so far in reimagining what a healthy school can look like in Hollister for our youth and the teachers and administrators, right? So for everybody. And before, just a really quick note, I feel weird not saying that how fitting I feel this meeting is having this meeting on the heels of one of the most historic verdicts in our country's history. Just to say that there's a lot for us to heal from over this last overwhelming year would be a huge understatement. And we need to heal. So ensuring that our schools, our avenues of support will play a very vital role in that healing process for our community. Well, like Eliana, Adriana, and Kip laid out, so we're not only working on having responses to mental health crises, although that's huge. Actually, it's been taking a lot of our time in a good way, is really narrowing that down, is we're also focused on identifying alternatives to suspensions in order to prevent more of our youth from being pushed into the school to prison pipeline. So we have restorative justice at the forefront of what we are working on in addressing. So we need to have practices that are more restorative rather than punitive. And a necessary part of all that is intentional community and relationship building between youth and their parents and school staff, right? So relationships are like the foundation of prevention work. You can't hope that a kid connects with you if we're always mean to them or whatever. We got to make sure that we're connecting with them. It's important to note that throughout this process, school staff have also been on our hearts and minds just as much as the youth have been. So teachers and administrators need to feel supported throughout this process of change, which is why hiring amazing, passionate social workers and mental health therapists like Ms. Delgadillo and Ms. Gallegos is so key. So established layers of support are what we want. So it's not just any one group of people taking this on. With that in mind, I would ask the board to consider a mentor/coach position in our comprehensive middle schools, at least at those sites, so that they can respond to things like drug use and student conflicts, fighting, the things that kids don't tend to get suspended for, the highest percentage-wise, the most reasons, and provide a community health response. So this model of having like a mentor on site has been proven to be very, very beneficial in other districts, in other schools. And FYI, we've been having some listening sessions with some parents, and in each one of the listening sessions, they have recommended mentors, requested mentors. They want someone at the school that is young, can relate to the kids, and they could be a kind of like a buffer before, for example, getting a referral to the principals or whatever, is really being intentional of making those connections and having someone on site to be able to help with that. So expanding the team, right? So we have mental health therapists, social workers, counselors, and if we have, the more layers we could add, the better, as long as we have the roles are clarified and everything. But we really want these folks to be, culturally competent, experienced and with working with youth. So not just any Joe Schmo. We want someone that really is committed to working with these kids, connecting with them. And we even thought of a name, right? Kind of corny. It'd be a Vida coach, Vida being Spanish for life. And then the acronym is, valuing individuality, diversity, and acceptance, right? So really, again, just that's something that we are pushing for. And again, recommending for y'all to consider, again, just building the team in the district because there's a lot to take on. This work is heavy, and we need as much support as we can. So with that, I wanna stay true to the time limit that I got, and I don't wanna go super over. So I'm gonna go ahead and pass it on to whoever is next. And
I'll take it from there, Rigo. Thank you. I did invite. Thank you, Rigo, for your remarks. I did invite the president of the local LULAC chapter to be here with us tonight. He has been an active participant throughout this process. He's been in the meetings. He actually, I don't know if folks know, but he actually worked as a campus supervisor at Mays Middle School. My first couple of months, Richard, I don't know if you remember, we were there together those fateful 3 months at the end of the 18-19 school year at Mays. So I just wanted to turn it over to you, Richard, so that you can make remarks to the school board, but really to the whole community that's watching. Talk about your viewpoint on this work and your support for it.
Well, thank you, Diego. I appreciate that. And I'm privileged to be here with all of you. This is a wonderful group. This is really profound work that we're undertaking, but it's something that I feel passionate about. Our youth are the future, and in order for us to remain dedicated to their educational and life skills, I think we need to come up with alternatives that support positive environments, positive school culture, putting them in touch with their cultural heritage is a conduit. I believe that more organizations need to embrace that part of education. And so it was mentioned before that we are on the heels of a historic judgment, but there is much, much more work that we can do. And creating the positive environment for our students can help us bring to fruition those goals that we see as part of a diverse, unified culture that we want to build as a model for other schools to implement. So I really feel privileged to be among such dedicated, wonderful people. I do feel as though these things that we are trying to undertake do have a huge ripple effect, or can have a huge ripple effect across many, many different communities throughout this state and throughout the country. So I applaud all of you for putting in the work and the effort and the dedication to our students. I believe also that mentorship will play a huge role in what we can do to help solidify those students who are struggling in one way or another. I am an advocate for more Latino male teachers being in the system. I'm in favor of having those types of positions filled so that our students can see faces that resemble them and can emulate the success that they've accomplished, because they too have been in those shoes. So I won't take too much more time, but I just really feel privileged to be here, and I will in the future dedicate myself to any endeavors that this board and this group wants to put forward, and fully support those types of missions. So thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you very much. What we're gonna do at this point in the meeting, and you all can see we have Jeanette Neal, she's also with Youth Alliance. We're gonna give her a chance as we move forward into this meeting to share with us her perspective and working with parents. She's gonna have quite a bit to say to us here as we move forward in the meeting. But what we're gonna do now is we're basically gonna turn this meeting over to the school board and to the members online and the members in this room who are participating in this meeting to talk about where we go from here. Because you just all heard a very strong and clear, definitive summary of what has taken place up to this point. And the question that's on everyone's mind is, how do we move forward in May and in June and July? And so I want to give the school board an opportunity to speak now and to maybe ask questions of anybody who has given a presentation, or to give those members that we have on this meeting an opportunity to continue talking through how the work will continue. So with that, I'll pass it over to our board president, Jan, for any remarks that you wanted to make. And if we can just kind of go down the line, and Lisa, you'll be up right after Liz, if that's okay. So Jan, with that, I'll pass it over to you.
Elizabeth, you want to start, or?
No, you can start, yeah.
Oh, okay, well, I have several. I was taking notes, and Rico, I did on this mentor coach. So can you explain that a little bit for me so I understand the position a little? I was a middle school teacher, so explain to me their duties and how you would envision them in the hierarchy of the school system.
Got it. Thank you. Appreciate the question. So I've been meeting with Robert Dusa. So he's from Oakland, and so they have this program at some of the sites over there, and he actually runs the entire program. So the man knows what he's talking about. So the way it would be, so yes, they actually have it at all the schools over there, but here in Hollister, we were thinking that at the middle schools it'd be ideal, because that's where, when we're talking about suspension rates, they're quite high at the middle schools, and no particular one person's fault, right? But just that's what they're like, the data. So what this role would be, I was trying to, and again, there was more that I had. So now that you asked me the question, I could talk more. So I appreciate it. So the whole point of these coaches, I said the main thing, I was talking about community building, right? As how important that is when it comes to prevention work. So these folks would be, at the forefront of that. So it's like, so we would, have yard duties, but we would also have these people at the school campus connecting with youth in different ways. So it could be, during lunchtime. It could be, depending on if this could happen, it could be they could be in the classroom every now and then connecting with the kids. They could set up events for the students and getting them bought into what like school events also, right? So not only are they setting them up, but they're also including the youth. So it's really just trying to build community in the school. And what the goal, so I mentioned earlier, like they'd be young also. So I'm not there anymore, right? So like we would need people that can relate, so if a kid is talking about how much they like Drake or some other new artist, we need
Then
to.
I qualify.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. You'll be the first one hired. But it'd be where we need them to be able to relate to the students, and but they also got to have experience working with kids, so like and legitimate and not where it's like, I don't know, like I saw my brother go in, I checked him into the school every day last year or whatever. It's got to be where they have experience working with kids. They'd work to foster a positive school climate, eliminate racial disproportionate practices, and what the outcome would be afterwards. And this is what has happened, in Oakland and other districts, is that there is an increase in attendance and even graduation rates. Well, doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight, right? But just where, as you start feeling that there is that established level of support at the schools, and that these people are not switching up, every couple weeks or every month, so that we have, the same people there for a long time. They're able to connect with the kids, and they can also lower suspensions and expulsion rates, right, because of that connection. So I guess as far as like their, hierarchy wise, if like an example, if there was a kid that was caught with two kids that were fighting, for example, and then it wasn't a humongous fight, like there wasn't anybody injured, no broken body parts. It was a scuffle, a disagreement. Instead of sending the youth straight to the principal's office, right, is that they'd be able to connect with this person, so that person can kind of get to the bottom of what it is. So they're also, even that I'm not sure. Well, Carla might, because she said that she's also very young. Remembering back when, if you're talking to a teacher or a principal, that's pretty intimidating for a young person, and especially if that adult is also pretty riled up and upset themselves, that doesn't usually go that well. So again, the coach would be kind of that buffer, so they would connect with, and obviously if anything needs to be handed over to the principal or information, of course, or to the appropriate party, but just where they're able to connect with someone that they can relate to, and to help alleviate the stress from a principal or an assistant principal, and even the teachers. Again, just having that added layer. So it'd be something's going on in the classroom, hit up the coach, as long as it's an appropriate referral, I guess. Like I say, if there's something super egregious that is extremely dangerous, and then yeah, but for the most part, that those things don't happen at the schools where there's extremes. So ask me again if you need clarification, because I kind of rambled, and if I just went around your question, let me know.
And what kind of education would be behind someone, Rigo, that would do this?
Oh, glad you asked. So I was thinking bachelor level. So bachelor level, so it also wouldn't, they wouldn't cost as much as other positions that we're hiring for. And so we thought about this for a while. So it could be like a bachelor's degree in fields like education, psychology, sociology, a related field like that. When we're mentioning experience working with youth, at least 2 years of experience working with young people. And again, for them to be culturally competent, responsive, team players, teachable, it would be a rigorous interview process. But it's because we're looking for the right people.
Right. Thank you very much. Somebody else have a question?
So I'm really excited with everything all of you have said, the presentation, and I just want to thank you. And when you guys all present, all of you, you can hear the passion and the love for what you're doing. You can, every single one, and including Kip. I heard you. I saw your energy, and it's real, and it's good to see that, right? It's not just, oh, we're doing this program and we're calling it whatever. No, every one of you is really dedicated to this and really believes in it. And I appreciate, Diane, the historical piece that you gave, because it brings, it lets the public and all of us know why we're doing it. And the statistics are glaring. They're embarrassing, they're disappointing, but it's important for us to know where we were and where we want to go. So I appreciate everybody. I'm so excited. I didn't know that San Benito County Hollister School District is really, taking this initiative. And so I'm really happy about that. I'm also excited about and interested about this mentor, really curious about this idea. I know that, we can't commit to anything yet, but we're just talking, everybody's just talking, settle down. But, so curious if there's also maybe conversation, you said bachelor level, when you first talked about it, Rigo, I'm thinking like in some other, like juvenile probation or other areas, they do like a mentor type, and it's usually AA level.
It could be.
So I'm just wondering, just to think of a little out of the box, right? I see Diane, yes, maybe, so that's good. And then I'm wondering, considering our middle schools are hopefully now about 500-ish students, one mentor, or, just,
Yeah, we'll have to look
Yeah.
at that.
so just some things for you all to think about, and I'm just really excited to hear what else you all on the panel and those of you who presented think where we should go. You guys are the ones that are really spearheading this effort, and we're here to hear you and have this conversation, so really want to hear about that.
Thank you for bringing that up, Carla. I do want to turn the floor over to one of our very, very involved community members. She's worked for Youth Alliance and has been a really, really key person in meeting with parent groups. I've attended some of her meetings. She's actually come to speak to the board a number of different times. So I want to ask Jeanette to go ahead and unmute herself there, because I'd like for Jeanette to address the board about some of the work that she's participated in, and to give the board some feedback on where we might go in terms of involving our parents in this process as well. So, hi Jeanette.
Hi, good evening. My name's Jeanette Neal. I'm the Parent Education Coordinator and Parent Alliance Organizer at Youth Alliance. And before I speak, I want to acknowledge this land, which is originally the home of the Ohlone people. Just want to make that acknowledgement. And so as a member of the task force, I was able to work with the group that was working to create a safe and positive school climate. And the work that we've done with that is to be able to have a plan so that there are responses that are equitable, so that like the idea that Rigo has with the mentor. So if there's something that a student needs, there will be something that is going to support them. There will also be support for parents as well. And really, I'm here. I wanted to, on behalf of the Parent Alliance and the tons of parents that I've worked with over the years, I just wanted to say that we approve what is happening here. It's been a long-awaited plan for the Hollister School District to create a task force and to even call it that they are dismantling the school to prison pipeline. And I believe that the work that we're doing is going to serve the whole child, and it's going to eliminate inequities and racism, and it will promote academic and behavioral successes that we've been wanting. It's also going to support attendance. And we look forward to the rollout and implementation. And most of all, we dedicate this growth to the academic success of our future generations. And I also want to say that I am so proud that of the parents that I've worked with over the years. And I also carry heartbreak for some parents that have lost their children to gang violence in our community, whose children were in the pipeline. I also want to say that it's been a privilege to work with everyone that was in my group and then also the greater group. And it's been a blessing to know all of you that are sitting on the board and to be living in this community and during this time with this change that is so historical. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeanette. Thank you for those remarks. That was so great, Jeanette. I really appreciate that. I also wanted the board to hear from our consultant that I've mentioned a couple of times tonight. Her name is Moira Denike, and Moira has an encyclopedia type knowledge when it comes to school board policies and dismantling school to prison pipeline work and equity work. And Moira, I wanted to give you the stage to be able to talk to the board for a minute about your experience working with our work group and the importance of the work that we're moving forward, and maybe leave them with an idea of where this work needs to go next.
Thank you, Diego, and thank you, everybody. Thank you, Board of Trustees, for giving us this opportunity to present some of the work that we've been doing. I'm very honored to have been brought on as a consultant to kind of help hold the work and to document, and also to kind of help with designing that accountability measures, which is a lot of the work that I do. I'm a researcher working in juvenile justice and public education spaces, often around racial equity, sometimes around behavioral health access. And the work that I'm seeing happening and unfolding in Hollister School District, it really is at the forefront of what's happening in public education right now. To see those numbers of where Hollister stood just a couple of years ago within the landscape of the entire state in terms of suspension rates, push out and push into the school to prison pipeline, and now to watch this 180-degree change that is so bold and courageous. It's very exciting to be a part of it. The work that we've been doing in Work Group A to revise these policies has been so top to bottom. It's been really astonishing to see how courageously this school district is taking this up, and in an authentic partnership with the community. It's just very, very, very encouraging. And I do think that, the next step, a policy that says, we care about this and we care about that, and we're not going to do this. It can be written beautifully. It can get the endorsement of the school board, but basically, if it doesn't trickle down into the actual day-to-day practices, if it doesn't make sense to the adults who are doing the work, if they don't feel supported, then it's going to fall flat. It's not actually going to make the change that it's intended to make. So really, that implementation piece is huge. And making sure, and I do think that this whole team has been thinking about that from the beginning. Okay, this is a good step, but what is it going to look like when it actually gets down on the ground to what's happening inside the classrooms? How do we make sure that school personnel don't feel like they've been abandoned? They feel like they're getting an exceptional level of support, an increased level of support to do the work that they entered into this field to do. So that's one of the things. That's really where the deep work is going to have to continue to go, is into making sure that there are systems to ensure the implementation and to ensure that everyone feels supported in making these changes, which are pretty big, some of them. Does that answer your question, Diego?
Thank you, Moira. Thank you so much. The work has to continue. I feel like at each step along the way, we say that phrase that Moira just said, which is, the real work is about to begin. So each time we check one step of the process off, we always say, now the real work of doing XYZ is going to begin. And then when you check that off, you think, okay, well, now the real work is going to begin in this next part of the process. And I want to thank Carla and Jan for acknowledging the work that they've done and eliciting from the people on the panel and those here tonight more information. And I want to give Steve and then Steve, when you're done with your remarks, give Liz the opportunity, and then Liz, over to Lisa.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say I'm extremely excited about this evolution for the Hollister School District. I worked in the district for almost 30 years as a teacher. One of my biggest pet peeves, to be honest with you, was suspending kids. Right from the beginning, I never understood, how are you helping them? You're here to do no harm. By suspending them, you send them home. Maybe there's nobody there to watch them, especially in middle school. So they're wandering around the neighborhoods all day. They have nothing else to do. You're actually rewarding them by doing this. Now, get back. Okay, well, why were they suspended? Well, mainly because we didn't have the personnel at the various school levels to be able to deal with the problem. There was just, the teacher had a hard time in class. You have 20 other, 30 other people you're trying to educate there. You know if you send them to the office, they're going to get suspended. You don't want to do that either. You're in a catch-22 position. If I had somebody, anybody, other than the vice principal, who probably had 3 other kids in his office at the same, waiting, I would have been more than happy to, that would be wonderful. I didn't have, that takes time. You just can't all of a sudden say, I've got the problem fixed. It's certainly not sending them home for 3 days. That doesn't fix anything. When they come back, what have you solved? So I can't tell you how excited I am about this because, again, we're here to educate everybody. Everybody, not just the kids that behave themselves all the time and behave the way we want them to behave. Everybody has a right to an education, and when you suspend somebody, you're taking that away from them. Whether you think you're doing good or not, you're not. I've never seen suspension help somebody, ever. So that's why I'm very excited about this. It finally will give schools, I'm not just talking about teachers, the entire schools, more options with kids, more ways to go, more ways to help them. We're not there to hurt them. We're not there to punish them. We're there to help them. And that's why we desperately need a program like this. Because this is the beginning of something, in my opinion, very, very good. And I hope it spreads to the whole state. Because this is what we need in education.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Steve.
I wanted to say how, from the very beginning, with everyone's presentation tonight, how seamless the conversation was from all the different levels and groups working separate but together. Because just from where the seed was planted, I still go back to Crystal and having that presenter that presented to all the school boards here. And for the tenacity of our dear Carla and our dedication of our superintendent, because there isn't a single thing that he will not take up as a challenge. And he lives for challenges, and this is one of those big ones. And the fact that this hasn't gotten started in other places is sad. It's really sad. But I'm proud of everyone's work, passion for making a change for our kids, and starting something in the Hollister School District. From being known for something bad to being known for something great is so, it makes my heart feel so wonderful and full. And I can't tell you how thankful I am to all of you for taking the time to be here to make that difference. Because if it wasn't for you guys to do this and be passionate, we're not gonna make it to where we need to get to. And you had me as Diego once said, you had me at hello. It's a personal inside joke, but sorry. But it just, I'm so overjoyed. And the mentor program, I can see that, in my mind, what a beautiful thing that would be for some of our kids to have that, because many times, even as adults, we may talk to our kids till we're blue in the face, but somebody else could tell them the same thing, and they'll listen to them But, you know, and that's where I think that like Carla was saying, the fact that we keep people that are consistent, that kids can rely on. We have to be that steady rod for them to know that they can depend on this adult to get me through whatever I need to get through. And that, for a lot of these kids, means life or death, especially in this community, with some of the things that we don't have anything else for them to do. And unfortunately, they have to make a choice, some as early as 10, 11 years old, to go down a path that they can't come back from. And I want to give these kids a different path to pick from and have better futures for all of our kids. And I just want to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart for everything you guys are doing. Thank you.
And Liz, I love the way you put that, just to talk about, you know, all these 10 and 11 and 12-year-old they're children.
That's right.
Who, if we looked at it 2 years ago, they were in a class that had 39 kids. And they were at a school that had 900 kids and 1 assistant principal.
Yeah.
And no counseling.
That's right.
And no after-school sports. And
Yeah.
we're
No choice.
heading towards a school year in 21-22 where our principal of Rancho San Justo is here with us, Mr. Rela, and I'm gonna invite him and our principal of Cerra Vista, Colleen, to come up in a couple of minutes, because I want you to talk about the grant application we submitted. As the board knows, we received it for Rancho San Justo, and we did not receive it for Cerra Vista, but I'm really proud of the principal of Cerra Vista putting that application in for the multi-tiered systems of support grant that we received, because it shows the desire, it shows the willingness to do the work to address what Liz just captured in that comment, to say, we're talking about children. We're talking about our children and how to give them enough people in their school life that can reach them, that can grab them, that can hold on to them, and help them make really good choices that they feel inspired about and they feel connected to their future. So I do want to turn it over to our board member who's attending the meeting virtually. Lisa, you're unmuted. Nice to see you.
Thank you. That's hard to follow all y'all. I was sitting there shaking my head as everybody added their little pieces, and I agree with everything everybody else has said so far. In running for this position, there were a few things that I was hopeful. I hadn't a label for it, but this process was definitely one of them. I had this vision of a child starting school, TK, and just having such an amazing experience that it just that he or she flourished as she went up through, or he went up through the program. And that was about being seen and heard and feeling like a part of what was going on and not being talked at or told do that. And what was that old adage, it's better to be seen than heard, kind of a thing, a child or whatever, like the opposite of that. But also because of the support that they felt, wanting to be a good citizen in that environment and wanting to contribute, and then feeling inspired and possibly even deciding to go into education themselves as adults, right? So this all fits, and it's so like perfect. And I agree, everybody feels so, I feel the union in our direction, and that's very affirming. I was thinking when we were talking about the mentor position, that I was remembering when I went to school at CSUMB, we had a social action requirement for both for the students to participate. And I'm wondering if those students in the process of getting their bachelor's wouldn't have a social action project and be able to leverage that for this kind of a position. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So I think it's desperately needed. I think about middle school children as a whole, and of course, somebody their own age is way more important. than or close to their own age than older adults, right? So finding that person that they can identify with and again be seen. I'm really supportive and want to explore more about that. And thank you, Rigo, for talking about that. And the top to bottom is I'm hoping that I see the largeness of this, and I agreed with Moira that it's going to be a coordination of effort that needs to be very well thought out ahead of time, right? So that when we implement, I mean, of course, there's always going to be hiccups, but the more smooth we can make it, the better. And I know that we're going to be basically two levels of it, right? Because you've got your K through 6, and then you've got, and so I just see that we need to build it from the bottom. And when I say bottom, I mean TKK. So I'm excited about all of this. Thank you. And I need to learn more. So.
Thank you, Lisa. Antonio and Colleen, if you can join us up here at the podium. Kip, I don't know if you left the microphone on, but if you didn't, you're just gonna have to hold the button on the bottom. Okay, if it's on, you should be fine. But Colleen and Antonio, if you'll just talk to the board for a few minutes about the process the three of us went through to apply for the grant itself, and then kind of where we go from here in terms of the grant.
Sure. Thanks for having me speak tonight.
Yeah.
So we were notified of the MTSS grant, and it went to 21 schools in the entire state, 7 high schools, 7 middle schools, and 7 elementary. I knew it was a long shot because there's a lot of school sites that are in intensive need, but I was fortunate enough in my time at the COE the last 4 years to be at the front lines of MTSS implementation at the state level. And I wanted to be with my people again. And I thought, you know what, I'll give it a shot. We have a lot to do at Cerro Vista, and it's unique in its need. And so we applied, and we didn't get it. But we're so excited that Rancho Santana was identified, and understandable. Rancho San Gusto. I'm not sure why we did that. Why we make those two?
He was back there
waiting. 100 million times.
We did it on purpose.
Yeah, right. It's a test. And so excited for them to be able to get the resources from the state. And I told Antonio as soon as I heard him, I said, put me on your staff roster, please, so I can be privy to that information. And it's just an exciting time in education right now. I think with COVID, I mean, if there's a silver lining, we're at a turning point in education and how we can shift our mindset. What is really important? You see families that have come together again, that had to, leave their jobs. People had to leave retirement. They came together and they were able to bond and reprioritize. And I think this is a great time for us to reprioritize education. We can shift from a sole academic focus to a whole child. What's most important? That we have productive community members that are healthy, they can coexist, they can solve their problems. Then, they may not get into Stanford, but I'm telling you, if you don't have a mechanic that's going to fix your tire or battery or engine, you can't get to the doctor's office for your life to be saved. So everybody serves a role, and that's what I'm really excited about is shifting our focus in education to the whole child and how can we attend. And the multi-tiered system of support is the exact way that we're going to do it. We look at the behavioral learning, our social emotional learning, our academic learning, and now we're getting somewhere. We can have, everybody has a value, everybody can contribute. It's exciting, it's a really exciting time. So I was sad not to get it, but I'm excited for Antonio and hope that he will share. And I appreciate your support and commitment to helping us at the sites make this movement, take advantage, helping our teachers grow and blossom, not to be interpreters of text, but really to be a teacher again. They're not regurgitating lines off of a book. they're helping children become aware and uplifters and not bystanders, but helping themselves help the community. So.
I know you didn't get it, but thank you for your effort.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's
Thank you
nothing,
very much.
just because you didn't get it, didn't mean you didn't put in the time.
Well, and like I said, there's a lot of need out there, and I mean, we have our own unique need with we don't have extraordinary suspension rates and whatnot. Our need was very different, and I'm just gonna kind of say that they have confidence that I'm gonna bring it anyways. So I'm gonna keep the crusade going, and yeah, thank you, I appreciate that.
And before Antonio steps in to address, I do want to just reiterate something that Colleen referenced, which is, I should say Dr. Myers referenced, is that there are 21 schools in the entire state that receive this funding to implement what's called multi-tiered systems of support, meaning you look at children as a whole child, but you acknowledge that every person on that campus can play a role in supporting the child as they need different levels of support. So as former teachers and as migrant education staff employees and social workers, you know some children need support at a very base level, at a very cursory level, so give it to them. And then some children come in with really intense needs, and the multi-tiered systems of support is designed to teach school staffs how to layer those supports so that the children get the support that they need with the intensity they need at the time that they need it. So we're really proud that Rancho San Justo is one of 21 schools statewide. So Antonio, if you'll take the mic and talk to the board just a little bit about the process and where you want to go from here.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board. It's a pleasure to be here to represent Rancho San Justo Middle School. The students at Rancho San Justo were the very fortunate recipients of a very large grant for their school. And with these funds, we intend to build upon the work that was initiated a couple of years ago by the staff and by the vision of Mr. Ochoa here with respect to placing the centrality of the student in all of our planning around the instructional program and all the supports embedded for students. Now, the good thing about MTSS and the good thing about these times in education is that you don't have to know what MTSS stands for. You don't need to know what it entails. If you have a background in PBIS, if you have a background in capturing kids' hearts, if you have a background in what we call student-centered instruction, then you have a frame of reference that will give you a good starting point for the new learning that is about to take place. And in the case of MTSS, it is very similar to what we do in PBIS in that we have different and varied levels of support. Everybody on campus plays an important role in providing support to students, and in interpreting the behavior of a student, we connect the student with appropriate resources. It is a very data-driven system that we use to support students, and so we have a basis for understanding how well we are serving students as time goes on. And again, this is very similar to what we learned in the PBIS program as well. So it won't be a completely new thing to our school and to our communities. But I want to say that this process came about at an invitation from Mr. Ochoa to principals to apply for this grant. And so Colleen and I, we were excited, we jumped in, we wanted to be a part of this, and we gathered together, we collaborated on what the application looked like. We thought together about the responses and making sure that they were well articulated and they were purposeful and that they were accurate and that they characterized the need of our schools in a way that was compelling enough to be selected, because it was a very competitive process. And again, I can't say enough about the timing that this all takes place in, because it's one thing to be awarded a grant, but it's another thing altogether to be part of a professional community where there are layers upon layers upon layers of support for this exact type of thing, so that the resources that you are contributing to it are not overcome by a lack of resources in other areas. So we are in a very unique situation where we get to orchestrate a lot of good that is already taking place within our district in support of our students through the MTSS program and what lies ahead for our students. So, thank you.
Antonio.
Congratulations.
Antonio, I don't know if you realize this, but the first thing that Steve and Carla and I agreed on when we ran as a slate was everything had to be student first. And in our interview process to hire a new superintendent, that was the first thing we did, and it was student first. I'm talking about this man here. So here, everything we're doing and talking about tonight and what we're changing and doing, I mean, I got goosebumps. I don't know about anybody else here. But I mean, I have goosebumps because this is what we're supposed to do. This is our job. This is why we're here.
Yes, thank you.
And our children need it. They deserve it.
And we're excited to put the pieces
Thank you
together. We're
so
excited
much.
for the new training, and we're excited for the opportunity to really transform things for
And
the
thank
students
you
at our
for
school.
working together and collaborating for our children. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a question though. I know he walked away. Sorry. Just getting your exercise. Well, number one, thank you, right,
Sure.
for everything you're doing. And then, how much are we talking about in this grant?
It's a $150,000 grant.
All right, nice.
Just so that we get an idea.
Yes, and they're also, and the idea is that a large percentage of our staff will be trained in MTSS, and there is gonna be a mentorship component to it over, I believe it's 3 years.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes.
And Carla, I believe we do have a public comment, if you want to take now as
We
the
have
opportunity.
two.
We have two public comments.
Yeah, we have one by email and one here in person. Let's, cause Celeste is here.
I was gonna wait for was the number 6 on the agenda, or agenda?
Now is fine.
Now is fine.
Yeah. Thank you, Celeste.
I appreciate you taking me,
Of
and
course.
thank you for everyone that's here. It's such valued information that just being here and receiving, even in the video. So basically, I wanted to present for a request for future agenda item, which would be the no mask in class, or as a choice for children to choose. And I believe that this topic was also essential to that because of facial expression and social interaction. I think being able to see each other's face, and smile, and interaction with our children is social, emotional. Everything that today's subject was about is amazing. So I think if I know Ashley Newman presented several studies that scientifically prove that children are 0% likely to give parents or adults COVID. So given the fact that our children in our community are doing better with the COVID results, I just wanted to bring that as a future agenda item. So also I have a comment from a student who did get a doctor's notice but was rejected from being in class. So I know that our school board here stated that if we got an exemption from a medical doctor, it would be valid for our children to go to school without a mask. But this one particular individual was rejected from our school. So I'm gonna go ahead and read it. This is her comment. It says, to whom it may concern, my name is Peyton Evans. I am 15 years old. I cannot wear a mask. On March 18, 2021, I had a personal, private, in-person conversation and examination. In my time?
No, 15 years old.
Like
Yeah,
a high school.
No, it isn't. I was just gonna
Because we're
share.
not the same school district.
Yes,
So
I was just gonna
policies are
share. Oh, it's different.
It's a different-
Yeah.
Okay.
it's a different-
So, well, my example would be, basically similar to hers as far as, she has her own medical exemption and is unable to attend the school, given, the medical exception was given to the school. Now, doctors are denying medical exemption to our children as well when they go to, when I took my kids, my doctor said no because they won't let her. So it is impossible to get a medical exemption as well. So just an agenda item, I know there's other parents
you.
that want to speak upon this, and this, like I said, this is a perfect example of today's meeting of the interactions with our children, social interactions, continuing healing process through facial expression and, you know, being able to interact with our teachers. I know you guys understand that, so.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
with us.
And then we have a public comment on email. I'll go ahead and read it. Good evening, board member. Oh, this one's to me though. I don't know if we should read this one. That's from a teacher.
Oh, yeah, it's,
Okay,
it's,
we're okay?
it's relative to the.
The reason I'm checking, just so everybody knows transparency, is because sometimes we get emails and they're not for public, and then some of them are public, so just double check.
And I think when you say, Carla, when you say sometimes we get emails, I think what you mean is we get emails every single day. And we get many, many
Yeah.
emails every single day, so we have to really actually think about, is this person asking me to share this publicly, or is it just for my information?
Right.
Because it specifically references things that came up in this meeting, I think it's fair to read it out loud as a public comment.
And it does say public comment, but we just double check. I am a 7th, 8th grade teacher at Mays Middle School. I agree with Mr. Jimenez about the importance of a mentor with middle school students. When I worked at PBIS school in Humboldt County, there was a mentor type program called Diversion. It was a place where students who got suspended went for an in-school suspension. It was also a room where those same kids who needed a break during class or something to cool down went. The mentor in that classroom really worked with the students and got on their level. The mentor teacher was a charismatic Black man who did a wonderful job connecting with students. I highly recommend such a program to be instituted at the middle schools. You can ask me more about it through emailing me. And thank you for listening. 7th and 8th grade social studies teacher at Mays. I'm not sure if I could say her name. Nicole Falcons. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, Carla.
That was the only one.
Thank you. We have our principal from Calaveras here. He's one of the principals who I think exemplifies an attitude towards children that is, he's just here to support them and help them. And I want to give you, Ken, an opportunity to step up to the podium and just address the board on your reaction, your ideas, your takeaway on where we can move from here in terms of doing this important work.
Well, thank you for the kind words and for letting me be prepared for this moment.
Pull out my speech.
So, what's striking me in this whole thing is that the work we do is spiritual. This is spiritual work that we do. And so we can't separate out saying that it's all for the kids. We can't, because it has to be about everybody in the room. It has to be about the board working with the superintendent, it has to be about the superintendent working with the principals, it has to be us working with the cabinet, us working with our families, and principals and teachers on the front line working with the kids and whoever walks through the door. And I think that it's easy, especially in large districts, to get caught up in money and labor and negotiations and all these things, right? That, yes, they're important to the running of a business, but at the end of the day, it has to be about me going home and feeling like I'm a good father, like I'm a good person, like I'm connected to the work that I do, and that my kids are proud of who I am. And I can walk down the street and hold my head high and feel proud of what I'm doing, right? And no matter how somebody walks in and treats me at my school, I know they're upset about their kid. So I'm dropping everything and I'm gonna listen to them. So when teachers send kids to my office, they don't get suspended. You gotta do a lot to get suspended at my school. And we haven't done that for years. You know, if you're getting sent up for not doing your homework, your punishment is doing your homework, right? And I think that there's a lot of great work that we're doing here. And it's great to bring this up so the whole community understands how important this work that we're doing is. It's very passionate work for me. I know every single person that works there, and I spend time to talk to them. I worked with my wife for many years, and she'd say, gosh, you talk for days. I know everybody that works on my campus, and I know them well because I want to know them, because I care about them. And I was told early in my career to separate that out. To know you work here, and you know you're supervising these people, you can't be friends with them. It's like, no, I can't do it that way. I have to be who I am all the time, to the best of my ability, and be kind and be honest. And so if somebody is not doing what they're supposed to do, it's on me to go talk to that person. Now, I'm not gonna go to them right away with, you know, anger or writing them up or meeting with, none of that stuff. I'm gonna go say, is everything okay? How are you doing? And check in with that person first, because they might need some help. And we need to do that with each other as well. And it's really easy to point at each other, right? It's such easy, or just go, there's nothing I can do about this. So I want to stand here and feel proud of who I am and what my school's doing, and when people come in, how they're treated. And I think that it's a simple thing to say, but it's hard because you have to be brave.
Yeah.
You have to be brave to go talk to somebody who is a superstar teacher or whatever they are, and to say, I need to talk to you about something that's not working, right? And to go be honest with them and sit down with them and have that conversation. So and that's why I say it's spiritual, because you have to be willing to like put yourself out there. It doesn't really, this idea doesn't really jive with business, right? Business doesn't really work this way.
Right.
And that's why I think you have to do it that way. It's gotta be a bunch of your heart and a bunch of your head in what you're doing. And so this work that we're doing now is really valuable and really important. And it gets to this problem that we have where, you know, we're sending kids away. They don't belong, right? So if you look around in this room, I don't know a lot of people in this room, right? I got some people that I know I belong to them. I'm on their team, I know that. If we took a second and we broke this up and I got to sit with these two ladies for a few minutes, we might start to feel like we belong together. And so that's why when you have that ability with mentors and more with counselors on campus and more people there that are committed, you break up that 30 to 1 and it starts getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And maybe a kid won't connect with me, but they'll connect with her, or they'll connect with Antonio, right? And they connect. So what else we have to do is keep our eyes on the prize, which is making kids feel like they belong and making adults feel like they belong. You're here with me. You're not going anywhere. You're here. When you send them home,
Their family when they're with you.
you kicked them out of your family, right? You threw them out. You don't belong here anymore. You know, you don't send your kids across the street when they mess up and say, sorry, you gotta go spend 2 days with a neighbor, right? We deal with them on your own. That's what we have to do. So I think that's really important. So I'm proud of the work that we're doing here, and I think that, you know, Jeanette said we're on the loamy soil, and I think, you know, that's a powerful thing. We need to remember that. Like we're connected to this place long before we got here, and it's just a matter of being brave enough to walk that and do the right thing all the time.
It's hard to do the right thing sometimes.
It is, because your anger and your ego and everything else gets in the way. But if you can go back and reflect and say, come back the next day, I'm sorry that I did that, I'm sorry I said that, be okay with it, and be honest and move forward. And if somebody messes up, you give them a chance, and a second chance, right? And if you have to hold their hand to help them, you do that. So that's, I think, the work that we're doing. And I thank Diego for allowing me to feel comfortable to say that up here, because I don't know that I'd always say that, but I feel like you guys got like as much truth as you're gonna get out of me, and thank you for the opportunity.
I think, you know, Ken's passion is evident, and Ken is, think about what Eliana said earlier tonight. She said, we put out an announcement to all the employees in the district saying, we have a mental health first aid training. And it, you know, what was it, a day or two, she had 30 emails, and then 60, and then 90, and then 100. So many of our employees, not our principals, not our directors, our superintendent, not people who work here at the district office and spend all day on these reports and spend all day on these. Our employees, our student nutrition workers are signing up for this training, our paraprofessionals, our teachers, our counselors. These are the heart and soul, you know, the people that are on the front lines doing the work. The minute we put that training out, it was immediate. So that just makes me feel like what Ken just said, we actually are connected. We don't see each other every day, obviously, but there is something connecting us in this district, which is we're all wanting to do a better job for these students. We are all wanting, like Ken said, to be able to hold our heads up high and say, in the Hollister School District, we're doing right by our students. That's what a lot of this work is.
I just want to go back to Ken and Scott. No matter who steps on their campus, they're walking into their home. And they, I mean, whether it's breaking bread or whatever it is, you are the only that I've seen so far, and I don't mean to put anybody else down, but I mean to recognize truly taking that step to really welcome anybody who steps foot, whether it's the maintenance, the custodial, whoever is there coming onto your campus is coming into your home. And that is a feeling that only is there because of you and because of Scott, and working together and making that environment true. Regardless of, because it isn't about authority or power or position. That goes out the window. That, what we're talking about, what we're trying to institute goes out the window. There, of course there's accountability because we all live in a country with rules, but we design what that looks like. And we gotta instill those right things in our kids as babies so that they know what kind of world we want to build for them. And it starts with people like this, you know, like Ken, who really shows his heart honestly every single day, regardless of what people are gonna say about him or judge him for, and you don't care. You know, I don't care. You get to the point as a leader where you want to do what's right because you know in your heart who you are and because you're here for that purpose. And we were all put here for this reason, is to be there for one another and make this world a better place. And it starts with people like that.
Thank you, Liz.
I was thinking when you were talking, I thought about something too. You know, we talk about equity, and I think it's important that the community understands that although we've been referencing really Black and brown, primarily brown, Latino, you know, children, that when you do something good for a particular group and your focus is because this particular group is the one, the target group, that equity, everybody wins. Everybody will get the good work that you're doing, the good work at Rancho San Justo, that Sierra Vista's gonna do, that, you know, it will help everybody, because if you provide this environment for everyone, then everybody's gonna feel welcome. Even though our target group is these Latino males, because they've been disproportionately treated bad in our system, in our school system. But really, this work is gonna benefit everybody. So I think it's important that the community knows that, right? That they don't say, oh, you're only doing, no. This is a change in the system, in the culture. So I wanna thank you, and then thank everybody. The other thing that I'm just curious and I wanna point out is that we have community, parents, you know, student voice, principals, administration, and I'm sad that our teachers left because it would have been good to have this dialogue with them present and are classified. And I want to point that out because this is the beginning of more work to do, and it's important that they're here, because I would have loved to hear a teacher or, or classified staff speak to what they see in this and how they see this is gonna work, for them. So just maybe I know this is more to come.
I think it's a great next step for us is to schedule meetings that give enough of an opportunity and enough of an option to have our teaching staff and our classified staff attend meetings to discuss the work that's taking place to dismantle the school to prison pipeline and our next steps. And that's something that I can begin immediately after this.
Well, one of the things that in my notes that I wrote down twice, and first I said staff must be supported, and then I put teachers must be supported. And I think that that's gonna have to come from our site administrators and cabinet, that our staff at our school sites, and when I say staff, I mean everybody, is going to have that, you're gonna have to build them up, because you're asking for cultural change. And all of us know cultural change takes a while, doesn't happen overnight. We're gonna give them good training, and I know that, and I know that our trainers are giving them excellent training. But it's still, it's gonna take some time, but we need to, support them. And I think those would be some discussions that you can have, Superintendent Ochoa, with your leadership on how you can help the staffs at the school sites, help them, because it's gonna be new for them too. And we want everybody to feel that support, because for some, I think it might be a sea change. And we need to help them through that.
Tonight was very important because it was an opportunity for our parents and for our employee groups to hear the work that's been happening and to hear the board's level of support for us following through on the work. I do want to give Diane and Richard and Rigo and anybody Lisa who's attending the meeting virtually an opportunity to make a closing statement. Crystal, an opportunity to make any kind of a closing remark or any kind of a closing statement, because we are coming up on our 8:15 stop time for the meeting. So I want to pass it over to our virtual colleagues and give you all an opportunity to chime in here.
Well, Superintendent Ochoa, I'll go first, or Diane, if anybody. I look forward to really establishing the next steps. I think Maura said it perfectly. We can have policy, we can have things on paper, but how does that translate into the work that needs to be done? And it's difficult work. And so my only comment is we're here to work with you side by side. The county office is committed. We will support any way that we can. We will support with professional development, coaching, mentoring, guidance, and doing whatever we need to do to continue into that next step. And really, and Diego and I have had these long conversations, the work that we engage in, we want it to be there far past our time. When you make true change means, doesn't matter who's running the building. It's a cultural change. It's the pedagogy, the thought process that will continue way past, my time, Superintendent Ochoa's time. So it will continue to make an impact for students for many, many, many years. And that's the type of planning that we're excited to do with Hollister School District.
Thank you, Crystal. Diane?
I have so much to say. I always, but it's been, I think the reality is that we're really embarking on something that hasn't been done. And so it's been, with some good things, some mistakes, some readjustments. And then of course we're in the middle of a pandemic and it's hard to engage community and sit in circle with teachers and folks like we normally would because of the situation. But I do think that, you know, what we're going to be embarking on next is the survey they're going out, the listening sessions are happening, and then the next work group is going to be convening where it's the education teams coming together with community to look at adult responses and support systems and really building this out, because we know this is going to take time and it's going to take a lot of thought, but it's also just going to take a heart and a willingness and a vision to see it through. And that's where I'm most excited about. I've been in this role for quite a while and worked with a number of superintendents. And every time I get excited about or I get overwhelmed with some of the stuff that we're going through as a community, I think and reflect about the opportunity that we have right now in this moment with the school district, with the visionary leadership that we have with Superintendent Ochoa, at the board, with our administrators who are behind this, and with our parents who are engaged and ready to go, is to think about how we have that power and responsibility to change something for the better. And so it is a long-term vision. This isn't going to be a one and done type of scenario where, oh, okay, check, we got the policy off. We know that it's a long haul. But again, because we've been here as an ally and a partner with the school district, because these are our families, this is our community. We are here to care for one another and to create that change. And so I think that there is that opportunity. I think the honest conversations, the dialogue, getting into the thick of those conversations, that's where the work has to happen, because we're really looking at changing a systemic system that's been going on for decades. And so we have to be able to sit in circle like what Ken said and the others said about that willingness to do that. And so I think that, you know, the next step is next week, our school district task force reconvenes. We're going to go over some of the data. We're going to talk about our work groups. The process continues. And I just want to say how grateful I am, not only for our education team, but our amazing partners and allies that have been part of this process through this whole time. It is a labor of love, and we know that. We know our children are sacred, and that investing in them is never a bad thing. So I just want to say thank you so much for the time and opportunity to talk about this tonight.
Caroline is headed over. Caroline's gonna have it. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Diane. We have the phone ringing here in the boardroom, so our Director of Ed Services is gonna pick it up and follow the prompts. And in just a minute here, Ken, if you'll take the microphone over to her, we'll help her once we have this public comment. I want to give Lisa or Jeanette or Moira, Richard, Rigo, you can also just put a thumbs up and let us know that you're good with everything that has been said already. Moira looks like she's going to say something. Lisa and Jeanette are okay, so Moira, you're up.
I just wanted to, first of all, acknowledge the courageous leadership in the room, call it a room. Everyone here, there really has been a tremendous amount of bold, groundbreaking leadership that's happened among the people who are here. But I also would like to acknowledge some people who are not in the room, not only the students and the families who have been helping to advise and push this agenda, but also we've benefited from an ally relationship with the Black Organizing Project in Oakland, who have been very courageous in advancing this work in Oakland. And that has also been leveraged into a relationship with the East Bay Community Law Center, and one attorney in particular who's really been helping this work a lot. So just to give them a shout out.
Yeah, I want to give Oscar Lopez a shout out. He's an incredible attorney who's been working with us through this process as well. Unfortunately, he did graduate from UCLA, but besides that, his background is stellar, so he's just amazing. And we do have a public a call-in, so I'm gonna have you can just hold the microphone right up.
Hey, Angela, you ready? Go ahead.
Other end.
Other end.
There you go.
That's so stand up.
Alright, do you wanna put her on speaker if you can? Try not to hang up on her, there's the speaker. There you go.
Hey, good evening, board. Thank you for understanding that we needed to get home. Making the adjustments that we've been making over the last 10 days is tiring. So since we realized. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Everybody hear me? Okay. Yeah, making the adjustments over the last 10 days was just exhausting. So when we realized that it wasn't going to be, the conversation that it was at the last meeting, we realized we could go home and be comfortable. So, but HESA is so very excited about the board's movement and the district's movement to dismantle the school to prison pipeline. It's something that we've been talking about prior to Superintendent Ochoa coming on board. It's something that I've reached out to him about and to a couple of principals about. CTA has some fantastic trainings that I've been trying to get to our district. And it's either we are going through a state of transition or they are going through a state of transition. So we are excited about this process and are looking forward to learning more. Because really, teachers, you don't step up to teach because, that rumor out there for summer vacations and et cetera. It's an exhausting job and you have to be dedicated in order to get through it. And you have to be dedicated to the kids. I mean, ultimately, they are our true bosses. They are the ones we face every day. And we have to do right by them. And when we don't do right by them, it's out of frustration. It's out of being disempowered. Like we were a number of years ago before Superintendent Ochoa came. And we were just told, you can't suspend kids. They cannot leave your room. You know what? If you shake their hand and you ask them the good things in their life, it will solve all of their problems. That was our discipline program. That was it. That is an important part, connecting with the children, but we all know that some of the children need a whole lot more than just a handshake and asking what good things are going on in their lives. And so you've seen that progress since Superintendent Ochoa has been with us, and knowing that it's going to continue progressing, we're going to be given more tools, both what we can do in the classroom and resources that we can connect our students to. It pleases us very much. So we wanted to, thank you guys tonight for embarking on this adventure.
Thank you.
Carla, did you have another comment? Okay, great. So Jan, I'm gonna turn it back over to you.
I think that we're ready to close this, our meeting down. It is 8:15 and,
Item 6,
oh, what's item 6?
request for future
Oh,
agenda.
request for future agenda items? Anybody?
That's
Do you have a,
mine, hopefully. I hope you consider it.
We've received it, so thank you.
Okay, thank you.
we have another comment?
No, we don't have another comment.
Okay.
This one was Celeste.
So you'll need a motion to adjourn.
Yes, request for any,
I do wanna, normally, I just wanna say, cause I think it's important that the public understands how public comment works. We hear the public comments, we are not supposed to respond to the public comments, and we take them into consideration. And so, I think it's also important, although I may have my thoughts about what you brought up.
I just want to clarify, I want it as a choice, not as.
Yep, it's okay, yeah. I think regardless of how we feel about certain policies, I think it is also important to be able to listen and clarify. So I would like to request if we could put for our, not this next Tuesday, right? It would be the following month?
Yeah.
Okay. If we can just clarify our policy on the mask so that the public understands the reasons and what the policy is.
Sure.
Well, I think it needs to be next week. May would be.
You and I can work on that.
We'll work on it, okay.
Just because I also want to be mindful of giving people enough time if they're gonna present or talk about this.
Okay, all right. Anybody else for,
I don't have anything.
I don't either.
okay.
Lisa?
Lisa, do you have anything?
No, I'm good. No, I'm good.
All right,
So
then
you'll need a motion to
I
adjourn.
need a motion.
I just want to thank everybody
Oh,
who
yeah.
came and were here, presenters.
Yeah, thank you,
Last
everyone.
minute.
So moved.
Thank you.
So moved, we're done, okay.
All right. You know what? We're gonna plug one in. Who, hold your glass.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Sure.